spoke at length with Mr. Canis. He assured me that all my qualifications were accurate through 2017. I signed the code of conduct that you were referring to simply because I presumed somebody would be watching it. But the ones that were in place before the last election continue to be valid through next year. So as far as that goes, I'm in fact as up to date as anyone.
Dave.
Thank you. Everyone, hi, my name is Dave Beauvais. I am a member of this committee by virtue of being president of the board.
You're not allowed to speak during public comment.
I'm not going to go into any detail with Mr. Kuzmin's allegations here, other than to say that Mr. Smith is correct and Dunn is anywhere from 4 to 12, sometimes more weeks behind in keeping up their certifications. The other thing I'll say to that is that we're going to be keeping our own certifications, and our secretary is in the process of making sure that she has her own record of who's certified for this, so that we're current with that. That's not why I came up to speak. We've already did this at the board meeting, but for those of you that are here today, tonight is Jerry Askew's last night as chair of the plum committee. I just wanted to publicly thank him for many, many years of service as a member and as chair of this committee, and the fine job that he's done throughout the years. Wish him a bushel full of luck in Auburn, and say that we're going to have really miss you, Jerry. So just a public acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to first item that was carried. Right. First item that was carried on from last month's meeting was the small lot ordinance. And Maria, I can ask, do we have any updates on that?
Nothing's moving on it yet. There will be probably a comprehensive guideline to be published in January 2017. So we still have some time to comment, to add some conditions if we would like to. And we can certainly discuss this. We can propose a motion of this committee if you'd like. Has anybody had a chance to look at the proposals, the code amendment, the design standards, the map standards?
I haven't looked at it since the last update.
Time. Yeah. Basically, I copied some of the neighborhood council's positions, and some are Greater Wilshire, South Robertson, Tarzana, Studio City, and I think that the main thread with this ordinance is, you all know what a small lot subdivision is? It's kind of like a condo or a townhome, but the unit runs with the land. You own the land that the unit sits under. And we've had actually some of these come before our board. And Jerry, refresh my memory, and because I'd like to probably make a motion that would speak to this. When we reviewed one of these small lot subdivisions, we found that the distancing was about 1 inch between units.
Right.
There wasn't enough guest parking, and they didn't have a homeowners association. That's the last one we reviewed.
Well, my recollection is that they were requiring, not specifically a homeowners association, but an agreement to maintain the common areas.
The common areas, yeah.
So, but that was a discussion that was going on in planning.
Yeah, and so actually they did put that condition in, but a lot of the neighborhood councils and a lot of the letters that have been submitted to the council file, indicate there's not enough setbacks, there's too much height involved. There's a requirement that should be implemented, such as requiring a homeowners association. Also, setbacks have been addressed, the number of parking spots. So I'd like to have this committee consider some additions or some suggestions that we could formulate as a community impact statement to this council file.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item, small lot subdivisions? Mr. Kuzmin?
Yeah, I spoke to a couple people at city planning about this, but the first thing I want to state is, we're Granada Hills, we are in the San Fernando Valley. Anything that anybody does on the other side of the hill is completely a different ball game. It's apples and oranges, folks. We are not Beverly Hills. We are not the West Side. We are not Beverly Grove. We are a typical San Fernando Valley middle-class neighborhood. We are not an affluent neighborhood where they have different issues and concerns. So this committee's opinion should be tailored to our community, not to the opinions already established by other neighborhood councils. It should be our community that gives input so that when you make your decision, it's based on hearing what we have to say before you do anything, so that we're not being compared to somebody else and operating independently for the needs of our community, which is the purpose of a neighborhood council.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. Maria, is the city council discussion or action pending on this?
Things in City Hall can crop up at any moment, and I did call one of the planners involved with this, and she has no real notice of when this will come up, but she says, get something in soon, because she says you never know how city council or Plum could schedule these kind of items, so it's good to have something in place. And basically, these are citywide ordinances. Here's the thing with zoning. These come from the city, and they impact us. So the recommendations that we're making here is based on projects specifically that we review here in this community, that we've seen. So these are specific to Granada Hills, and these do have some, I guess, association with other neighborhood councils as well. So it's not only about Granada Hills, but it is a citywide ordinance that impacts us.
John?
We have a townhouse ordinance that we've worked with, and it has a lot of provisions. And what we don't have is a matrix that shows us the differences between the townhouse ordinances and the small lot subdivision. So we might want to request that from the city so that we can see how this is going to vary, what items are different, how the setbacks are different. And many of the items that Maria has already mentioned, townhouse will have homeowners, and the small lot may not, how far the setbacks have to be. But I haven't seen one yet. So.
Yeah, we're asking, actually, we've discussed this with camp planning in the past. Small lot subdivisions are very similar to townhomes, but they don't have the same type of regulations that townhomes do have. So they can be very problematic. So since we've already reviewed a case here in Granada Hills, those recommendations that I'm proposing here came from that project. And just some of the projects that are local, that have been locally developed.
I don't think one review, even one case, makes a case. One instance.
Yeah, that's true, but we're limited in this case because the small lot subdivision ordinance is brand new, so there's been a very limited number of projects. So we need to extrapolate somewhat into what kinds of issues may arise. And I know the one that did arise earlier is in our multifamily zone, which is Sector B of the specific plan, specifically Chatsworth, between Encino and Balboa, or Genesta, okay, yeah, Genesta and Encino. Our specific plan increases the amount of parking. The idea being that we don't want to have, if you've ever been over in the apartments near Pettit, where the streets, you can't find a place to park for the park or anything else because all of the residents are parking there because there's insufficient parking for the apartments. And in our multifamily area, years ago, we specified that there was an additional, I think it was a quarter space per unit that was in there. So the effect is you can have one unit that has an extra person living in it, or you can have somebody that has guests over and they're not parking on the street. There was a belief with the small lot subdivisions that that didn't apply to them, that since they were single family residential, they didn't have these multifamily residential rules didn't apply. It was clarified to us that multifamily rules actually apply. So that was one of the issues that we knew works from our current experience with multifamily units along Chatsworth. And the other, of course, is that Maria mentioned, was the issue with common area maintenance. There was one project we were looking at where the front tenants basically own the entire lot up to the sidewalk. So if a tenant moved in that liked gardening and kept it nice green grass or maybe a drought tolerant landscape, and it would be kept up. But if somebody didn't want to spend the money on the landscaping or the water or whatever, it could become fall out of maintenance. And that impacts the entire project. So everybody who lives in that unit, when they want to sell their little plot of land that's in the back, what the person in the front is doing is affecting the value of their property. So this is a discussion we had a couple of years ago, was that we thought there should be a homeowners association type of thing that actually owned front lots and maintained it that way. They kept it, everybody paid for the water and whatnot, maintenance, and then you wouldn't have the action of one resident affecting the value of everybody else's property. So those are some of the things we kind of extrapolated from current experience with multifamily residential like townhomes and apartments, where what works and what doesn't. So I hear your point, but in this case we're getting something that's brand new, that's never been tried anywhere in the city. We are looking to other neighborhood councils to see what they're saying, because there are areas of the city over the hill that are similar in ways to us, not similar in other ways. So we kind of look at what ideas they're coming up with and say, does that sound like something that works here, that resonates with what we've heard from the stakeholders? I guess that's the best explanation I can have of the process. Dave?
Jerry, two comments. One, we do have a couple of small lot subdivisions in Granada Hills. One is right next to, across the street from the other, although it's not.
Brown Act violation.
That one's actually an RD6, those are condos.
The small lot subdivision is on White Oak.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's a big
Right.
project.
We also have one just at Woodley and San Fernando Mission, which is in North Granada Hills area. And we do have some properties that would be vulnerable to this kind of subdivision in Granada Hills. So the thought should not be that, this isn't a problem that will not affect us. Very well could affect us in the future. So that's the first consideration. The second thing that I would urge the committee to do is figure out what are the top issues that we need to address with this in terms of how it would affect Granada Hills. I'm hearing the density issue or the parking issue is one thing. The common ground issue is another thing. Maybe there's a third and fourth thing, I'm not sure. But to me, the right way to make a motion would be to address all of those issues as that the committee has identified and put it into one community impact statement. It's basically to say that any small subdivision ordinance should address the following issues: additional and adequate parking for that project, proper maintenance for any common areas. In other words, some kind of association or organization that would be responsible for that. Whether it was a homeowner, if that's adjacent property, that homeowner would be responsible, or it would be a common area that everyone would be responsible, and just lay that out in a written motion that could then be turned into a community impact statement for the board. So.
We've had.
Maria, hang on just a second. I kind of transitioned around public comment. Was there any other comment from the public on that small subdivision? Okay.
I can say you can correct the parking by just moving the bicycle lanes here on the foot and have no one to park on the streets, because they'll get a ticket if the tire ends up on the white line, because they made it too narrow on White Oak. If somebody owns a van, even park there unless they jam their tire up on top of the curb, which then they'll get a citation for parking on the curb.
That
was a very smart move, the planning.
Yeah, it's a good
I don't live
point.
on White Oak, but I see what happened.
Yeah,
That makes real nice for the people who
It's
live in the area.
it's off topic from this, but it's an issue that we've been dealing with here.
I know it's off topic.
Just
but I'm
because
saying if you're having a parking problem,
Oh, yeah,
correct it
well,
by
yeah.
putting a bike lane there.
No,
That fixes it.
just because I ride a bike doesn't mean that
No,
I'm
no,
in
I'm
favor of the
not.
bike
I'm not.
lanes. And I've had plenty of discussion with Glenn Bailey around the same, but what happened on White Oak was a travesty, and we've actively supported the residents there. In fact, had an understanding from DOT that they would no longer
But they're
write
still
tickets on
doing
that,
it.
but they came back, 2 years later and started doing it again. So
They're still doing it.
yeah, I don't want to get off topic on it, but we're actively fighting that, the chamber's actively fighting that, and Old Granada Hills Residents Group is actively working to stop the city from doing that.
I understand. It's not affecting me, but I'm just saying, I feel kind of.
Yeah, it's,
It affects me,
it's a disaster what they did there, but
just like
it's,
the lack of light in White Oak and San Fernando affects me, but it's off topic.
yeah.
I can't get out of my driveway.
So we are working on that with the city, and it takes a very long time. DOT is very
There's still that
stubborn.
part of the discussion. I just-
Yeah, but thank you for bringing it up. Okay, so no more public comment on small lot subdivisions. Okay, seeing none, move forward. Maria.
Okay, being at this ordinance and reading through it thoroughly for many, many years, you know, kind of being at its inception and looking at how this affects our community. And Dave, I like your comment and, you know, comments from the audience as well, and John. And just putting together a motion, I would like to move that Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council puts in a CIS to ensure that future small lot subdivisions are compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. And Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council residents follow. To establish a public hearing process for proposed small lot subdivision projects. Because these are done by right. Nobody has any input, the neighborhood doesn't have any input, and we notice when we have developers working with us, we have a much better project. On many occasions, we've seen that. Direct the Department of City Planning to prepare a summary of current codes and regulations pertaining to townhouse developments. There may be appropriate standards that may be included within this ordinance. And John, I'm taking that cue from you. Any small lot subdivision projects must be governed by a homeowners association or similar entity or body.
Can you add which maintains common areas?
Oh. Front setbacks must be compatible to the prevailing setback and/or underlying code if it's compatible with the surrounding properties. Because that's been a big issue. Guest parking we discussed for 4 or more newly constructed units shall provide a ratio of 0.25 parking spaces or 0.50 parking spaces per unit.
Is that in addition to city standard? Because I think they require 2 spaces per unit, and the specific plan requires an additional quarter.
This is
You're
higher.
proposing an additional half? Okay, just make sure that it says additional.
Increased. A distancing of a minimum of 3 feet between each unit, because some of the units are an inch apart, and mold and vermin and all sorts of things can get between there, and you'll never be able to clean them out. So at least 3 feet gives a gardener or somebody enough space to walk between to clean it out. Ensure that projects are built according to the Department of City Planning's approval, and that these provisions are enforced. I had an interesting conversation with one of the city planners today. I said, what guarantees that any of these small lot subdivisions, once the administrator signs off on them in planning and checks it off, who comes back and makes sure that the developer follows these guidelines? She says, good question. So anyway, that's why I like to include that very, very important condition.
That would be the,
What size land you guys call it for a small land subdivision?
What kind of land?
Size.
What size? What's the sizing of the land which you guys call it?
There's no specification to the size, other than it should be 18 feet. And it's really primarily for multifamily multifamily zones. So those lots, At least, I believe 5,000 square feet, I believe is the size of the lot.
I thought, yeah, well,
5,000, yeah, but you know,
I
but they,
thought the minimum subdivision was something like 600 square feet.
yeah, but I believe
Say.
that the lot needs to be 5,000 square feet.
It's gonna be smaller.
Because you can go up.
Well, yeah, 5,000 is awfully small. Remember that project on Chatsworth, the person was combining two single-family homes, whose lot size was certainly 5,000 square feet at least. And he was combining both of those to turn it into RD 1.5 small lot subdivision with 6 units.
8, I think it's 8.
Right. I think he was pushing for 8, but he
Oh,
found
that's
it
right,
at
that's, yeah,
6.
that's right.
So, I don't remember if the 5,000, but that minimum's not part of our motion, right? So,
No,
So
it
it's-
isn't.
it's
No, no,
informational.
no, that's,
Where is that project? It's by Zelda and Chatsworth?
it has not been built, but it was on Chatsworth between Amistoy and,
Genesee.
no, was it Genesta or was it
Yeah, it was right- it was
Aldea?
right
I think it
before
was
the
between
shopping center.
Amistoy and Aldea.
It was right before the shopping center there.
I'm pretty sure it was between Amistoy and Aldea.
Was it?
But there's two single-family residences that have apartment buildings on either side of them, and so they were putting a small subdivision in
But
there.
in the old Granada here, all zoning is not same for all properties, or it's
Sorry?
different? The zoning for all old Granada here is the same, or it's a different zoning we have?
It's
for this one?
different.
It's different?
It's different, well, along Chatsworth, for instance, it's, according to the new general plan, it's R2. That along Chatsworth to Los Alamos and Kingsbury, and then in the old Granada Hills area, what is it now, RE9? RE9. South of that, there's a lot of RS1, which is 7,500 square foot minimum, and then there's some R1, which is, if you go to the east, it's R1, which is 5,000. So, yeah, there's a lot of different zones in Granada, even in Granada Hills South. So, Mr. Kuzmin?
You're a little off topic, so I'm just gonna ask that you reread the motion.
Okay, that's fine. Maria, can you restate the motion?
Yeah, okay, I will.
I never mind getting back on track, but I do want to give everybody a chance to weigh in.
To ensure that future small lot subdivisions are compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council recommends the following actions. Establish hearing process for proposed small lot subdivision developments. Direct the Department of City Planning to prepare a summary of current codes and regulations pertaining to townhome developments. There may be appropriate standards that can be included within this ordinance. A small lot subdivision project must be governed, all small lot subdivision projects must be governed by a homeowners association or similar body that maintains common areas. Front yard setbacks must be compatible to the prevailing setback of the surrounding properties. Guest parking for 4 or more newly constructed units shall provide a ratio of 0.5 parking spaces per unit.
Additional,
Additional increase,
right.
A distance of a minimum of 3 feet is required between each unit. And to ensure that projects are built according to Department of City Planning approval and that these provisions are enforced.
Okay, you'll be able to email that verbiage to me? Okay.
Exactly how it.
All right. Any further board discussion? Actually, let's, Maria, you're making the motion. Do I have a second? A little tired today. Second by John. Any further board discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote.
Hold on,
Oh,
may I?
Mr. Guzman, go ahead.
The reason why I raised my hand now, and this happened before, and you said that, this was the case, but I want to call your attention to the meeting bylaws, or the bylaws for Granada Hills South, Article 8, meetings, item D says, public comment and testimony shall be taken after an item is presented, but before it is voted on by the board. So technically, the item hasn't been presented until the motion has been read, although we did have some public comment and discussion beforehand and explanation of what it might be about. The bylaws say that the opportunity for public comment comes after the item has been presented. It's already written out, and I'm wondering why we don't have a copy of that here on the table to see that the motion, or that pre-written motion wasn't already attached to
It's
the
not
agenda.
pre-written, it's scripted.
Oh, it's partially written and then modified.
Partially.
So my public comment is I was a little concerned about a couple of things. Mentioned in that motion was a public hearing. What kind of public hearing? By whom? For what purpose? If they're doing it by right, why does there need to be a hearing? I don't understand what was meant by the term of having the hearing. I also heard the word used in that may, and I'm not sure that it's appropriate to use the word may, because then you're not really taking a position. You're not saying which way you're going. May means may, one way or the other. It doesn't mean we're for or against. So the other thing that I have a problem with is the word enforcement. This is a planning and land use committee. You make a recommendation to the board to make a recommendation that these things be included, but you certainly can't say that they've got to enforce your 3-foot rule, because that's not the purpose. The recommendation is that they add that to the code requirements, not that it be enforced.
Okay.
If that public comment
Thank you.
makes any
I like
sense
that.
at all.
It does. And I received your statement that you believe that's the way the bylaws read and that's how they're interpreted. I responded to it, and the way we will conduct these meetings is after the item is presented, which means I've read it and somebody's introduced what it's about, I'll ask for public comment. We'll use that public comment in an advisory capacity in forming our motion, as you saw occur here, as Maria had some prepared notes, but added to it based on our discussion. And then we'll have board discussion. I can allow additional public comment after that, but there's no requirement in the bylaws to do that. So I did respond to you on this.
Mhm.
That's the way I see it, and I also asked if you could present any case law or any kind of authority that speaks to the necessity to take public comment after the presentation of a motion. And you never sent any to me. Now is not the appropriate time to bring it up. You should have responded to my email at the time I asked for it. If you want to send that to me after the meeting, you may. The rest of this meeting, I'll be conducting according to that. Thank you. So we have the motion on the floor. It's been seconded. No more board discussion, committee discussion? Okay, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion as read? Raise your hand. We've got John Seletos, Maria Fisk, Brad Smith, Jerry Askew. Brad, you're not voting, or at least not here. All opposed? Brad, I'm not voting. No. Dave. Did I say Brad? I meant
Yes,
You
Dave.
said Brad.
Today's.
I'll abstain
yes.
since I did not hear the discussion.
All right.
You can't vote anyway.
Any opposed?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Ex
And one
officio
abstain.
doesn't get
Aye.
to vote.
Okay. Any disagreement with the conduct of the meeting can be handled by discussing it with Don. I don't want to get into that here. All right, the motion passes. Our next item is on second dwelling units, which is also known as granny flats or backyard apartments or accessory dwelling units. And Maria, if you, we do have updates, so I'll ask Maria to give us an update on what's been happening in City Council, and if anybody doesn't understand anything about second dwelling units, please feel free to ask.
Okay, just a little brief summary. The ordinance was just passed to grandfather in any type of second unit that has permits. So that whole process about repealing the current code veered into complete attention to the Granny Flats or the second units that were out there in the queue. So that is what the current ordinance has to do with. The repeal of the current code is still going to be heard down the road, except I called the city planner today, because I had a question about this. There were 2 bills just signed by governor, and they have to do with Granny Flats. One was signed yesterday and one was signed today. So the city planner advised me that before we take any kind of positions or any kind of updates on this will go back to the public for review. We will be looking at some of the new state provisions on regulations of Granny Flats, having to do with meters, having to do with parking, having to do with process. I just looked through this briefly. But at this point, there's really nothing that we can make a motion on, because this whole process, as of yesterday and today, will now be revised and will be going back to the public and neighborhood councils and all of us for review. Very contentious issue, very contentious issue.
Okay.
So that's the update.
It sounds like we're headed towards postponing this, so is there any public comment on second units? Mr. Kuzmin?
Okay, so I don't know what position you're gonna take, if you take a position, if you make a motion after I speak or not, so I'm just gonna state for the record, whatever motion you make, I'm opposed to, because I'm not gonna get another opportunity, because, listen, this is a document written by the district attorney to a public agency that put very generic things on their agenda and then made very specific motions. And this is the district attorney, Steve Cooley, LA. The agendas of your agency contain generic descriptions that meet brief 20-word requirement but do not provide meaningful notice by which an interested party might make additional inquiry. In other words, we can do homework to determine whether or not to participate in the decision-making process for that particular item. Consequently, agendas for future meetings must include sufficient information to identify the subject matter of your consideration. In other words, if you're going to be for or against, if you're going to put 3-foot things in on that, you know, that's like great. Now, I talked to the chief planner of the second dwelling unit ordinance, and this is what I was told. Up until September 30th, you can get your permits in. Plan check, paid for, and you can build your unit under the old CZ 120. So you got 2 days, so if you're planning to do it, get down there quick. Beginning September 30th, they're reverting back to the 1985 Granny Flat Law, which will allow you a 640 square foot guest home on your property. Now, the Senate and the Assembly have passed a motion to amend the state second dwelling unit law, which is waiting on the governor's desk. I don't know if it's been signed or not yet. He has until Friday. The indication is that he is going to sign the amendments to the second dwelling unit, and that they will go into effect on January 1st. When they go into effect on January 1st, it will nullify this stopgap measure of reverting back to the 1985 Granny Flat Law, and people will be able to build according to the new state regulations until the city does something to stop us from growing again.
Thank you for the information. I don't want to let your comment go about lack of ability of the community to have input. Any motion passed by this committee goes to the full board. The verbiage of that motion is presented at the time the item is presented at the full board, and you have another opportunity for public comment there. So if you do have comment that came up during the course of the formation and the voting on the motion, you can make it at the neighborhood council. So the ability to comment on these is not non-existent. It's just that we can't open the floor continuously at the committee. Mr. Kuzmin, did you hear my explanation?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Good. I will also point out that the DA has reviewed our agendas any number of times and has not had a complaint about our items being too generic.
Not true. 2013.
Hasn't been DA for about 8 years, 6 years.
Well, but it still applies. It's fair. Sir, you had a comment?
No, just I have a question. The thing which he said until September 30, anybody's gonna get a permit, or what's that mean for the second one?
Well, what I have heard is that the city grandfathered existing permits, or basically any permits that can be gotten in by September 30th. So I don't have the complete details. I don't think any of us do, but you can get to the information on the web and see. But there is a couple-day window, basically, that the city gave to people who were already in process and who were perhaps being held up because of all of the discussion around this, or were just on the cusp of getting a permit to allow some relief. So that's, and if you happen to find that website, please let us know what the
It
website
basically
is.
says what Wilson said, that there's a September 30th, up to 12 months, like, over emergencies, depending on what the governor. But I pulled it off the Granada Hills South.
Okay. Good. I don't check that off myself. So the Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council website, you may see a link there. If you don't, I check departments and they should have information on it. Okay, any further public comment on second unit? Okay, seeing none. Maria, do you have a motion? Do you want to postpone, or did you have a specific motion?
There's no motion, because the governor signed the two bills, so.
Okay.
So that will be going out to public review
Oh,
according.
I'll take it as a-
This has to go back to the drawing board, the whole thing.
Take it as a motion to postpone indefinitely.
Until we hear.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's on Granada Hills North,
Granada Hills North, okay.
without the grand plots.
Yeah, we may have it on ours too, that we share a webmaster, so he tries to keep pertinent news on both sites, so, but do check both sites, thank you.
Jerry? So is it too late to submit a motion on the grandfathering?
Yeah, because right now, with the new state laws, SB 1069 and AB 2299, the governor just signed those yesterday and today, so that will start the process with the granny flat, the second units, accessory dwelling units all over again.
So
Let
they're taking comment.
me stick to the procedure on this, though. Are you making the motion to postpone indefinitely? Okay, by Maria, second. By Brad. Okay, so now the board discussion. Go ahead, John.
No, just so that to submit a motion in regards to the grandfathers, there's no benefit to doing that one way or the other, and how the community feels at this point.
Basically, we'll just, there's really no point to it, because
Already signed.
it's basically, this is already signed by the governor, so with these new provisions, this will be, very interesting to take a look at what all cities are doing across California.
All right.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go for a vote. All in favor of the motion to postpone indefinitely? Say aye. Raise your hand. All opposed? Any abstentions? That was unanimous. Oh, thank you. All right. We'll move on to something that I think I hope everyone can agree on, and that's earthquake safety. So I'll give background on this, since I'm bringing this to the committee myself. A couple of years ago, the gas company came through and made an improvement to their meter reading system. They automated meter reading, and they had to retrofit all of the current meters in, I believe they did all of Los Angeles. They certainly did the San Fernando Valley. And they either retrofitted the meters with a new meter face, which has radio communication in it, so you can read the meters remotely. Or they, in the case of some of the older meters, they replaced the entire meter. So my belief at that time was that the gas company missed a great opportunity to outfit all of the existing meters, and they were already taking the meter off. The labor was essentially already there to put on earthquake valves, earthquake shut-off valves. Following an earthquake, a lot of damage is caused by fires, and a lot of those fires are fueled by natural gas. In fact, at the time, I had the opportunity to speak with Dr. Lucy Jones, who you probably see on TV after all the major earthquakes, and asked her about it. And she said that fire causes a tremendous amount of damage. She gave me some actual statistics that I don't remember, but there was a significant amount, majority amount of damage caused by fire following an earthquake, and these earthquake safety valves were a good measure to prevent it. So my own feeling was that the gas company had made an effort to streamline their process, save money, perhaps even reduce staff in terms of meter readers, and didn't use the opportunity to make our community safer by installing earthquake shut-off valves. The pertinent code that I found on this is in the plumbing code, and it says, anybody who's interested in code is 94.1217.2.2.4. So I had to dig kind of deep. It says that an earthquake shut-off valve must be installed when any work, any alteration is, says the alteration or addition is to the fuel gas piping system and involves the alteration or replacement of the gas meter. So to me that seemed pretty straightforward. You replace the gas meter, you have to put on an earthquake shut-off valve. The gas company's response to me was, well, the homeowner would be responsible for doing that, and we didn't want to make every homeowner pay for earthquake valves. And I said, I think the gas company should pay for the earthquake valves and put them on. So that's the gist of the item I'm bringing before the committee, is to see if we want to form a motion to ask the gas company to come back and correct what they've done by installing earthquake shut-off valves on at least any meter that they replaced, and hopefully with that reduce the amount of damage that happens in our community the next time an earthquake occurs. So that introduction, is there any public comment on this item? Mr. Kuzmin?
Yeah, if you can prove that they violated the code and that they're responsible, then yeah, we should make them come out and put in earthquake valves every place where they put a meter in. Now, the argument that I think you might get is that the meter belongs to the gas company, and they have the right, I believe, in their agreement to go out and replace the equipment at any time. And because they are the gas company, they may have an exemption from that code requirement. But that doesn't mean we can't submit an opinion that we think they should do it. Because I agree, more earthquake valves means a safer community.
And that is the crux of their argument. So.
Oh, so they already gave you that.
They said we're the gas company.
John and I probably, and Jim is here, we know about this argument for 20 years with earthquake valves since they required them.
So given that I couldn't call the gas company and say, hey, why don't you come out and put earthquake valves on everybody's meter, and they didn't say, oh, that's a great idea, Jerry, I'll come do it. I figured we could start by bringing it to the committee, taking it to the board, and perhaps getting some notice out there, and maybe get the city council moving on doing something about it. Because we knew some people who had their house burned down after the last earthquake back in '94, and nobody was hurt, but it wasn't a pleasant experience. So, any other public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none. Well, as the chair, I don't want to make the motion on this, but it's anybody else want to make a?
Well, do you have the language per se, or
I could come up with some, if you want a suggestion. That the gas company, that the gas company installed earthquake valves on all meters replaced as required by City Building Code 94.1217. Whatever it was.
So whatever it was, motion?
Yeah.
Okay. On the off chance that, I'm not gonna try and rephrase that, but.
94.1217.2.2.4.
So we're basically, essentially just recommending a sense of the community that this should be an issue. And we continue to forward, ask for a forward, send it to SoCal Gas, or should we just as attentive as they always are to these issues? All right, without rephrasing what I think we just discussed, I'd offer a motion that the planning and land use recommend to the neighborhood council general board that in fact we do make this recommendation to the gas company regarding actually to Southern California Gas regarding that earthquake shutoff valves. I'm sure it should be much more detailed than that, but I think it gets the gist. Is there a second? So, second for Ms. Fisk.
Okay, so Plum recommends to the general board that, can I say that the gas company,
I guess that's SoCal Gas.
SoCal Gas,
Yeah.
super handy. SoCal Gas, how about be required to install?
Sure. I mean, I think the city would have to require them.
Well, they would, but that's the ultimate goal, right?
Fair enough.
To install EQ valves, as per LAMC 12.94.1217.2.2.4. Okay,
Did you have the word earthquake shut off now?
earthquake shutoff valve.
Is there something to
I think some supervillain calls that one, but not me. Mr. Kuzmin.
Just a quick bit of information. I'm just rereading that you cannot install your earthquake valve on the gas company side of the meter, meaning the meters are split between the gas company ownership and the homeowner's responsibility. And the homeowner's responsibility begins after the meter. And that's where you have to install the earthquake valves.
Correct.
So when the
Except
gas company is doing their meter, they're doing it to, again, like I said, to their own equipment. And I just was reading this CPU order here.
there is an exemption, there is an exception. If you scroll down and the indentation, I'll warn you, if you're looking at the LAMC on the AM legal site, the indentation is wrong.
No, I'm looking at something on the Southern California Gas Company site.
Okay. The LAMC has an exception, item D, a single seismic gas shutoff valve or excess flow shutoff valve may be installed upstream of the gas utility meter at the discretion of the gas utility.
reference item B, if you wish, just to make it clear that whatever the gas company said it would be in fact.
Okay, earthquake shutoff valves as per LAMC 9412.17.2.2.4, inclusive of exception D.
Sure, that's how it's phrased. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll reread the entire motion. The Planning and Land Use Committee recommends to the General Board that SoCal Gas be required to install earthquake shutoff valves as per LAMC 9412.17.2.2.4, inclusive of exception D. And I'll be happy to write that up with a reference to the code, so that it's a little more readable for everybody.
That works for me.
Okay, board discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that's Jerry, Brad, Maria, and John. All opposed? None, abstaining? Dave Beauvais, so that's 4-0-1. Motion passes. All right, thank you. One gift I would be quite proud to leave the community with.
I move this is regarded as the Askew Act.
The Askew Act. I'll try to come up with an acronym for it. All right, reports now. Maria, the specific plan design review board, any activity?
Yes, we met on September 14th, and we reviewed a proposed apartment building on Chatsworth Street, and also the gas station, the 76th gas station, up by Balboa and Penalty, 1700. And also, it will be 24-hour, and there will be liquor sales. It's a bigger store. But also, I'd like to have the police do another evaluation of crime stats for that area. So I'm throwing it back to that committee.
You should mention they're gonna remove the bays where they work, and they're gonna put in a convenience.
And they're putting in a bigger convenience store. With
It's the same footprint of the structure, but different
But it's
use essentially.
same footprint of the property, but a bigger, smaller, less bays, and a bigger store.
Actually, no bays, right?
There's gonna be bays for the gas. There's
Yeah,
gonna-
but they have bays.
Service bays.
Service
Service
bays.
bays.
I think they're
Garage.
removing the service bays. aren't
Oh, yeah, they're removing the repair bay. Yeah, I'm
Service.
sorry, I'm thinking bays for where you do your gas.
That's an island. All right.
Oh, that's slow. So anyway, hopefully we'll be moving with the design review board on a regular basis. We haven't
Okay.
met in over a year, so that's
It's
good.
funny that they have bays and islands in gas stations. I don't know,
It's not
It's different.
It's not funny if you have to work one.
well, true.
They should change it to convenience stores. That's
Anyway.
like gas.
So this is for sure, right?
You know, it shouldn't even be a gas station. The whole idea of a gas service station was to maintain your vehicle, put gas in it, keep it safe. Now they've taken that away. It used to be, that was the nice thing about a service guy when he used to pump your gas and look at your tires and things like that.
Yeah.
And now they're taking that away more. I mean, it's like, you know, they should change the name, not gas station, but 7-Eleven with gas.
This is going to be a 7-Eleven.
Oh, is
Let
it?
me,
Oh, so there you go.
So let me call for public comment on this. Anybody else want to speak on the item?
I think we got enough 7-Elevens.
We have more Starbucks than 7-Eleven still.
That's true.
Yeah, okay.
Dunkin' Donuts is
Any other, Tim Hortons, but, any other, public comment? Okay, so I don't think we really have any motions on this.
No, just some information.
Okay. Anything on, code enforcement that we're tracking, existing complaints?
Well, there's a lot of outstanding ones that, building safety will truly ever resolve.
How about 17421 Forest?
17 what?
17421 Forest.
And what about it?
That there's an order to comply by 1019.
That one I'm not familiar with, and as a committee, we're not tracking.
You ought to be served there.
Okay. We'll take that from the public.
Yeah.
Can we ask what it is?
Let me grab the,
I see the notice, what is it, a house, or what's the,
Unapproved construction.
and it's a
It's a house.
house at Forest and,
I don't know if the cross street of 17 is.
you see what the construction is?
17.4 would be,
It's an additional block or an addition.
I don't know, we can look at it and
Well, I don't see why it would
see
be
what
on
it
your,
is.
why it wouldn't be on your.
We actually don't get reports of these unless somebody brings them to us. So we don't get like a printout sheet of complaints that have
Consider it brought to you.
been going in, have been put in, okay, thank you. No other, I'm not aware of anything we're tracking right now, other than,
Commercial properties?
Yeah.
The
there's
same
small
ones that
out
we
there.
brought up to the.
No change.
No,
Okay.
as few.
All right. Any other public comment?
No,
Jim?
just a question. What about that big commercial development on San Fernando Mission and Woodley that I heard about?
Oh, yeah,
That's close enough to our
I
borders.
meant to mention something about that. I've spoken with Agnes up at Granada Hills North,
Uh-huh.
and they are having a meeting regarding that on October, I believe, 11th. And so since that's in their area, my tendency is to defer to them, although it's very close to us, so we're interested in it. But they're, I believe it was October 11th, they're gonna be having a meeting with Yelp. And you might check on their website, but we'll be tuned into that. And I can't speak for myself because I won't be here at that time, but I hope that the remaining members will be tuned into what's going on there, and then we can either support Granada Hills North or formulate our own position on it if it differs.
Just a comment on that, Jerry, it might be useful to talk to Granada Hills North, talk to Agnes or other members, and perhaps have a joint plum committee meeting with them once they talk to Gil. And, invite members of the community, because Jim's right, it's right on the board.
Yeah, it's right
And
there.
it would be more time effective, I think, for the two plum committees to get together, have a joint plum committee meeting, to let, the members of the public from both areas come together and speak on it. And then, we can take separate actions or the same action or whatever, once the meeting's been held, and just make that the subject of the meeting, basically.
It's a very, very large development.
It is, and I think it deserves some time.
And it deserves some
and
time.
Because it is gonna impact South Granada Hills. If they're agreeable, it might be an efficient and good way to get the public out
Well,
there.
Dave, so this isn't exactly pertaining to the item we're on, and due to my short time, would you be able to?
No,
find
I'll
someone
carry
to-
it forward or ask
pursue it?
a member of the committee to move forward.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Jerry, I showed it was October 19th at 3 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I knew it was during the day, but
And that's for the Granada Hills North neighborhood.
nonetheless, one of us.
Might wanna
will
check.
Well, not me, but one of you, hopefully you make it. No.
Placer.
Okay. Next item, anything going on, this is really a continuation of the last one, commercial districts, enforcement issues? Nothing that
Just
we're tracking?
nothing new.
Okay. Any public comment on commercial district enforcement issues? I hope everybody's seen the new town clock, or at least what's going to be presented. That's going to be christened on October
First?
1st. Yeah, I believe it's right the day before the street fair. So, the street fair is.
Yeah,
the street fair is the
Right,
following.
right, the street fair is the following one. I'm gonna be out of town in any case, but, yeah, I think it was October 1st. So
Maybe
anyway, right there on White Oak, Chatsworth, so if anybody's interested, you can just look that up at, the chamber website, or, I believe we have it on ours as well. Okay, closing remarks.
I want to make an apology. I was
Okay.
wrong. Mr. Beauvais, as ex officio, does have the right to vote.
Okay, thank you. for
Sorry,
clearing that
Mr.
up.
Beauvais.
It's quite all right. We've only been doing it for 15 years. but-
Well, I'm still learning. I haven't read the whole book yet.
Mr. Bouvet, do you have any comments?
No, sir, I have nothing other than, once again, thank you for your service.
Thank you. John?
You've done a great job, I sure appreciate all you've done. Very much.
Okay. Thank you. Maria?
Well, Mr. Mayor, more than words can say.
Thank you very much.
I would like to move that we adjourn, not in your memory, but in your honor, for fighting to try and keep this community the sort of place it is, as opposed to a place people would love to pay cash of it, want to see it. So in that effort, I would make that as part of the motion to adjourn, that we do so in the honor of Jerry asked.
Thank you very much. We have a motion adjourned, second by John. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Maria, can you track that?
Okay,
I'm
well,
not gonna be here. Otherwise, I'd
that's
be all
fine.
over.
I've got company at the house right now, they're leaving in the morning, so once they're out of the house, I'll probably call you,
But,
I'm working
you know,
on it.
if there's anything issues to report, it's,
Mr. Beauvais.
record you can
How
report.
are you doing?
Good. Just a couple things. I have this list as your update.
Start filming my apartment yet?
Highlighted
Well,
places
they're gonna
that-
sell it. They're gonna, I know.
You don't need to do that, because I look at it fairly regularly.
Well, it's the same
But I will-
August as it is for September.
Yeah, I will say to you that this is not perfect, okay?
I wanted,
That's fine, that's all you have, that's why I've asked the secretary to keep our own list of certifications, because I know that done is not keeping current.
That's great. I'll send Alex an aerial.
They do a pretty good job.
But in this, they do a pretty good job of sending it, and you keep on
Our
them,
mattress.
okay? They don't do a pretty, it's basically, let me be honest with you, it's basically an intern's job on the evidence, okay? It's about the lowest, it's the lowest form of data input that they have. Okay?
Well, I mean, it's.
When Julie and I, were sworn in, it was one of the things we talked about, because it is a problem from time to time, okay? And I won't, I'm not gonna answer on that, but the,
Wait a second, let me turn this off.